Thanks to Governor John Kitzinger, and I hope I didn't butcher his name, Oregon will be the fourth state to avoid the food stamp cuts that are included in the recently passed Farm Bill. This means that about 100,000 households that would have seen cuts to their food stamp benefits will not see a decline in their benefits, which was expected to be about an average of $58 a month per person. So a spokeswoman for the governor said that it was a decision made to ensure that low-income families who already have minimal food budgets won't get cut. New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and now Oregon are four states who have decided to change the way the state allocates federal energy assistance money in order to avoid the Farm Bill cuts. How they're doing this is, well, all of the food stamp cuts from the Farm Bill are coming through a program called Heat and Eat. This program is currently is being implemented in 15 states. The households who receive at least $1 in federal energy assistance in this program would usually have received a boost in food stamps. But under the Farm Bill, they raised that minimum to $20. So you have to receive at least $20 in energy assistance and be eligible for at least $20 in energy assistance in order to get that boost in food stamps. This would affect and cut over 80,000 Oregon residents. The Farm Bill as it is, if Oregon didn't do anything, the state would lose approximately $37 to $54 million a year in public assistance. And the individual household would lose approximately $696 each year. Currently, 792,047 Oregon residents rely on food stamps to survive and eat. Over 140,000 of those people are a part of this Heat and Eat program, and over 80,000 of them were facing food stamp cuts. So the governor of Oregon approved plans to allocate an additional $2 million to the energy aid budget in order to meet the new threshold. So basically he's giving people more energy assistance in order to prevent their food stamps from being cut. They are paying $2 million to avoid losing $56 million total worth of low-income benefits for struggling families. New York is doing a very similar thing by allotting $6 million in additional funding for energy assistance to save approximately $547 million they would have lost in food stamp cuts to poor families. Critics are calling it a loophole, of course, saying that Democrats are exploiting it in order to avoid the food stamp cuts from the Farm Bill, and they're complaining that now they're not going to see the estimated $8 billion cut in the food stamp budget over the next 10 years that congressional Republicans were hoping to see. Republicans in office claim that the $80 billion a year food stamp program, it has spiraled out of control, but cutting food stamps for poor families only forces them to choose between food and other necessities like medicine and medical care, school supplies, things for work, household supplies. You're not going to motivate people by taking away their food budget. That's not a good way to motivate people. You're not going to keep them from needing the assistance by cutting their food budgets either. It's only doing damage to poor families and poor children who need to get proper nutrition in order to develop strong bodies and get a good education. These cuts would have also come on top of the cuts that already took place last year in 2013 on November 1st, when the stimulus spending was allowed to expire. People saw $30 to $50 on average of their food stamps cut throughout the country at that point as well. So in order to ensure that no one is actually losing out on any energy benefits or anything like that, officials from the DHS and Oregon's Housing and Community Services Department have met on Thursday to start working out the details of this strategy. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, so I'm gonna point out that food stamps weren't actually cut in the Farm Bill, and like this goes to my big issue with how the budget is calculated and how baseline budgeting works. According to the Congressional Budget Office, from 2003 to 2012, the United States government spent $461.7 billion on food stamps. And over the next 10 years, from 2014 to 2023, we will spend approximately 725 billion. Now, where the cuts theoretically come in are basically the cuts are basically the Democrats proposing a higher rate of increase than the Republicans. The Democrats propose to increase the farm bill budget or the food stamp budget to 764 billion over the next 10 years, so that's about 76.4 billion per year. And instead, we're going to have a 57% increase, which is 725 billion. Now, I know I threw a lot of numbers at you, but basically the cuts are between increasing it to 764 billion to just increasing it to 725 billion. So it's actually a food stamp increase. It spends more money than was even in the sequester budget. But that being said, if local states want to offset this slight, tiny decrease in the rate of increase of food stamps spending, then that's perfectly fine. But don't call it a cut because you're living in a fantasy world.
Well, it is a cut because the families that are actually affected by this are being affected by policies in the Farm Bill. Like I said, in these states with the Heat and Eat program, if you are poor enough that you're eligible to receive normally, before this whole thing, if you were eligible to receive at least $1 or more in energy assistance, then you got a bump in your food stamps because they said, well, you're so poor, you obviously need more food to eat. Well, in this new plan with the Farm Bill, they're raising that minimum. So now you have to be eligible for at least $20 worth of energy assistance in order to get those extra food stamps, which everyone's been getting. So people the 80,000 plus people that in Oregon just alone who would have been affected by this would have seen an average of $58 subtracted from their monthly allotment of food stamps, effective very soon, not in the next 10 years, in a matter of months. Just like in November when people saw $30 and $40 and $50 and $60 taken out of their monthly allotment for food stamps. You can say it's not a cut. It's not. You can say it's not technically a cut because this or this or this or that, but to those families, their food budgets are cut. Plain and simple.
It's a cut.
You're cutting against an increase. The Democrats wanted to spend $300 billion more on food stamps in the next 10 years. The Republicans said we're going to spend $290 billion more over the next 10 years. That is not a cut. That is spending $290 billion more.
Yeah, but
let's look at the reasons why.
This is the problem with baseline budgeting is you end up having a fraudulent debate.
It's a cut on the micro scale for the families, but it's a decrease in the rate of growth on the macro scale. So Rhiannon's right there. It is a cut for the families, like on the ground, so to speak. But Sean's also right that when you're talking about it's not cutting the budget, it's just decreasing the rate of growth. It just depends whether you're talking about micro or macro economics.
And let's look at why they would have to grow the program. Well, the cost of living, the cost of food goes up, right?
Absolutely.
The cost of energy goes up. The cost of everything goes up. Therefore, basically it necessitates an increase in the spending in that program just to keep the current benefits level the same.
Right, they're
So you're both
calculating
right.
for inflation. They're calculating for what they predict to be the inflation rate.
And the growth of prices and different things. So Rhiannon and Sean, you're both right. This is a cut, and when you look at how much people make on food stamps, a $58 to $60 cut, like you had said, Rhiannon, in their benefits immediately, right? Look, people on food stamps don't get very much to begin with. They're not living high on the hog, so that is a significant amount being cut from the program.
I mean, the thing as well, like the critics are saying, oh, this is a loophole. It's just, Democrats giving, more handouts to the poor. I think that, okay, it might cost a little bit more, and that kind of, as Sean was saying, the rate of growth or is kind of really what the two parties are arguing about in reality. That, it shouldn't make a difference. Like, okay, it might cost you just a little bit more, sort of thing, but it's either that or having more children who are starving in America. Okay, some people might abuse it, but at least make sure all the children are fed. If that means that some people are going to abuse the system and get away with not working, what have you, fine, I'd be happy with that, as long as all the children are well fed. I just don't see how people can criticize kind of trying to decrease the amount of food stamp money available. And I know that's not necessarily what as Sean's saying that the parties are arguing about, because they are still increasing it no matter what.
I just wanna get off baseline budgeting, and the people who are criticizing the governors for restoring the higher rate of increase. They're totally free to do that, and that's supposed to be a Republican principle. Like, let the states best manage their people. They decided that that's the way they want to do it. Like, so just let it go. And I will add one other point. It's most of these theoretical imaginary cuts are backloaded, and are backloaded to the end of the 10 years, and no Congress can bind any future Congress. So saying in 10 years the future Congress and future president are going to cut the budget by this amount of money is also nonsense.
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip, make sure to like and leave a comment below, or even share. Sharing is caring. If you want to see more TYT Nation videos, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TYT Nation. Thank you for watching.